Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News, joined by the WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Lawrence Okolie. We are down here in a very lovely Bournemouth ahead of Lawrence Okolie versus Chris Billam-Smith this weekend. Lawrence, always a pleasure. Been a while. How are you getting on?
I'm getting on well. Thank you for asking. Yeah, Bournemouth's lovely. It's my second time here. I'm enjoying it more this time than the last.
When were you here last time?
To see the stadium, the first bit of press between myself and Chris.
How long have you been here now? Obviously, we're going to come on to this. We've been sort of jet setting in Dubai and then training in America. When did you arrive in the sunny climate?
I arrived back in England maybe 3 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks ago, and this is the third week.
How's things been, Lawrence? I think since the last time we properly sat down, quite a lot has changed for you. Promoter, management, trainer. But one thing's still the same. You are still the WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World, so there is that constant. But how have you been getting on?
Yeah, another constant is I'm still myself. I'm still alive, thank God. But yeah, it's been good. It's been obviously a lot of changes. Promoter, management, trainer. Basically the three things that are the main pieces of team for a boxer. So that's been changed, but all for the better in my opinion. I feel a lot more free, a lot more for myself. I feel like everyone's pushing in the right direction. And it's just up to me to go out there and just continue to win and perform.
One of the things that I've said to you in the past, and I've kind of gone on record and said it in previous times when we've discussed yourself and your careers, you're very kind of self-aware and very, you think very objectively about where you are and where you want to go, etc. With that being said, the last 12 months or so, it's kind of pre the David Light fight. How difficult was it in patches? Did you ever kind of waver from your, because one of the things I always think about you is self-belief. Did you ever waver from that at all?
No, but sometimes you're in a hard fight, you know what I mean? So it doesn't take away from what I think of myself. It was just a battle outside of the ring, and it was a plus and a minus. In terms of boxing, it was obviously a minus being out of the ring, but a plus in terms of finding out what's important, setting up business stuff. So those kind of things kind of played a factor into, I believe it's going to help me in the next 5 years, what happened over the last year. I think that it's the sort of stuff that kind of gets you switched on to other stuff as opposed to boxing. So that's been good. Negative out of the ring, but we're back on the positive. Had a fight 8 weeks ago and now we're back having another one.
What did you learn about yourself over the last 18 months?
I'm a beast, is one. I should always back myself as well. Number two, and number three, that it's kind of like, obviously it's not just about myself but just in general, that I did some research and stuff. So I saw an interesting stat, which was 60 or more % of athletes go bankrupt when they retire from their sport within 5 years. And then I was looking at it and I was thinking, could I be one of those? Could he be like? So then I started doing stuff like budgeting, planning, and then I actually put stuff on a spreadsheet and whatever else. And not just what I spend, what I'd like to spend, because I'm an optimist. I like to think, there's a certain way that I want to live and stuff like that. So I put it all on a, spreadsheet, and spreadsheets are not real life, but it's a good indication of like where you're at financially and stuff. And I was looking at it and I was just like, with my girl, and we were just like, if we actually tried to live like this, and we didn't make any more money, we'll be in the same. I'll be in the same category as these athletes. So it kind of switched me on to more outside of boxing business stuff, where to put stuff that's safe, where to put stuff that's risky. So that stuff really helped because it, as much as boxing is my love and my passion, I actually want to be able to, have a certain life for my kids and whatever else. So yeah. I don't know why I was saying all that, but it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it kind of leans into what we're talking about, being self-aware. And there's a lot of things that you kind of mentioned that athletes don't think about. You think your career is going to go on forever. Don't think about it until, unfortunately, it's too late. On the spreadsheet, I don't want to obviously know details, but any little treats you got planned in the future? Any kind of big goals that we want to hear about?
My aim, God willing, is to make more outside of boxing than I do in boxing. And it'll take a few years or a couple of years to get there, as long as everything goes well and the world keeps ticking the way it is. So yeah, that's my main one.
So you went over to Dubai. How is Dubai? We're going to go Dubai, and then we're going to go America, and then we're going to come back onto here. How was Dubai? What were the reasons for going out there? Because we've never discussed it. We've never done this really.
Yeah. Well, Dubai, great weather, great people, and there was some stuff that was happening in England that I didn't really want to be in and around at the time. So obviously that's over now, as well as the matchroom stuff and whatever else. So pardon me, that was a reason for going out there, just to be away from it all. And then it turned out, you can actually get citizenship, you can get this, you can get that. And there was a lot of perks, so I just thought, I'll go with it. Nothing was concrete. But yeah, like I love it out there anyway.
Obviously, you're training with Sugar Hill, but Dubai-wise for boxing, I know it's kind of it's growing in various different places, but certainly boxing as well. Is it easy to get work out there? Difficult to get work out there? I've seen you doing some bits and pieces over kind of the course of the last year with your Malik Scotts and people like that. What's it like for boxing over there?
It's growing, definitely, but it's the sort of place where if you tell people, hey, come out to Dubai, I'm going to put you up in an apartment and you only have to spar 2-3 times a week for 6 rounds each, or 6 rounds a time, people are usually very up for coming out there. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same as in England. There's only a limited amount of work you can get in, because people stop wanting to spar in case you're going to cross paths or whatever else. So it's the same as anyway. You just fly the work in.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good gig to get going out
Agreed.
to Dubai. Apart from sparring you, of course, which I probably wouldn't be up for, even in the nice surroundings of Dubai. Obviously, you went over there at the time. I think you weren't separated from Shane McGuigan at the time. Of course, now you're ex-trainer and Chris Billam-Smith. Was the plan to sort of base yourself there and work with Shane? Was it to kind of come back?
It was so up in the air in terms of where I was going to be, what I was going to do. I didn't know what would happen with boxing, all of that stuff. So it was very much just, let's see what we can work out. And I've tried hard. I think logistically, it just didn't make sense. Obviously, he's had a newborn kid. So, congratulations to him for that. There's a lot of good fighters in the stable. And it would probably be difficult to say, hey, all of you guys come out here for 6, 7, 8 weeks to anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got their own lives. So I got it. And as we said, it wasn't like there's a falling out. I still think he's a great trainer and I think he's a cool guy. It's just it didn't make sense logistically, so we had to just go separate ways.
Before we move on and talk about the present and the future, of course, while you were with Shane and the developments you made, I think the general feeling was that you had progressed under him and, of course, became world champion. How did you assess your kind of time at McGuigan's gym from, when you walked in there to ultimately leaving the gym?
No, I think it was amazing. I think he's a great coach. I think we had a lot of great memories. I mean, I won a world title, European title with him. A defense or 2 defenses. Yeah, so we had like I said, I ain't got nothing bad to say about him or the camp. I think it had a really good ethos. There was lots of good fighters there. The Adam Azims, the Chris Billams, Ellie, the whole lot. Everyone in the gym, Hassan, as well as Robbie Davis, Dan Dubois, Carol. The whole gym was buzzing. Everyone, so I'd be able to come watch them hit the pads, watch them hit the bags. Take some things from everyone and kind of run with it. So I liked it there. Yeah.
With Sugar Hill doesn't have an enormous stable of fighters. I don't think Shane McGuigan has an enormous stable, but it's a growing stable. It's certainly bigger than when you joined the gym initially. Was that a factor at all in kind of going to Sugar Hill, having more one-on-one time, so to speak, or more time with him? Do you get that with him?
I do get that, but it wasn't. And also, he's a teacher, as in Sugar. He's very much happy to, we've been in here in England and he's there, coming in early to take a class of amateur boxers, stuff like that, which... Obviously, that's not a problem for me. It's actually quite good to get the energy of other people. So he doesn't do anything in secret. It's all everyone can come and have a watch. Me hit the bags, me spar, me hit whatever it is. It should just be open and free. So it's definitely been good in terms of he's got a good stable of fighters that maybe we won't know in England, but he's got some really good fighters that I sparred this camp. Even some lighter guys who are in there putting in good work. You know what I mean? There's a guy called Vladimir in the gym who's really good, sparred with Ben Whitaker as well. Just in case, just for the speed and the sort of work rate and stuff like that. So it's been good.
As a trainer, how does he compare to Shane? How is he different? What kind of things have he implemented into your game now that you feel are going to work? So obviously, a lot of people, when they heard the fit, they went, "Oh, Lawrence Okolie, big, tall guy, long range, good right hand. fits quite nicely with the Kronk style. But I'm sure there's more to it than just that.
There is, and there isn't. I think that boxing sometimes can be overcomplicated, and we can turn it into, like, of course, there's little nuances and little positions and, you know, stuff like that, you know, that definitely plays a factor if you're able to, in the moment, you know, capture those opportunities. But if it's just raw, like just the simple physics and stuff like that, yeah, you know, the stuff that we work on is very just performance based in terms of like split second explosions, and he's kind of like forcing me to work hard. You know, I think from the last camp to this one, he's realised that I'm really good at just slowing everything down and just, you know, just making it very like, okay, I've won a fight or a spar or whatever else just in my comfort zone. But, you know, from the last fight to this one, he's like, no, we're going to have to get you out of that, because, like, I don't care if you're winning a fight convincingly. I want you to push it and get someone out there. You've got the fitness, you've got the strength. So we've really been working on that this camp.
Just on Sugar Hill, one of the things I'm always fascinated to talk about is he seems like quite a cool character. I don't know him massively well at all, but from the outside looking in, he seems like a unique guy. What's he like as a person?
Yeah, he's hilarious. Hilarious, good to be around. Good vibes. The whole team like him, so it's good. And I feel that will come in handy when it's time in the corner. If it gets gritty or tough, whatever else, having someone that you can tell when he's being serious and when he's being jokey. And, you know, there were some points in the David Latt fight where he was very unhappy. He let me know. I went out there and tried to execute what he said. So yeah, it works well.
Kind of spoke about it in the past. You went through domestic level, European level, world champion so quickly, and even your amateur career was like kind of expedited and a nice quick rush through. We've always kind of spoken in the past about, you know, learning on the job, but something like that. How far away do you think you are from your potential now? Because you're at the stage of your career, obviously you're world champion, you're looking at unifications, maybe heavyweight in a period of time. Where do you feel you are in your progression now?
I'm not sure. You know, every camp I feel like I'm getting better. I'm still relatively young-ish, I guess. You know what I mean? I'm 30 now, so I still got some more time, some more learning. I'm quite a good receiver of information. So we'll see. You know, it's all about pushing myself, not just in training, because we can all get physically fitter and get that little extra bit out of ourselves that way, but it's more so being in different experiences. You know, like here's another experience I'm going to add to my belt. You know, 15,000 rooting for another person and still going in there and executing what I'm meant to execute.
You mentioned that being here in Bournemouth against Chris Billam-Smith, of course, somebody you know well. A few people have sort of mentioned about, you know, going behind enemy lines or whatever you want to call it and going into the lion's den. There are some fighters that I wouldn't say you would look at it and go, I wonder how he's going to handle it. I'm not just saying it because you're sat in front of you, kind of mentioned about in the past, the way that you approach things. You don't strike me as the type of person who is going to be bothered by that. In fact, the opposite. I feel like you would quite relish that. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's only one part. You know, I've got, there's lots of parts where I think this fight in particular, I'm going to be able to really demonstrate. But yeah, like I don't relish or the opposite of whatever relish is. Do you know what I mean? It just is where it is. I don't think it's gonna really play that much of a factor on how the fight goes. I think I kind of go into this with a sort of open mind and open heart. If you can fight with that kind of energy, we'll see. You know, I know what I want to implement, and I know how I believe I'm going to implement it. Because although we can talk all of this, me and Chris know each other, and Shane knows me better. And it's just like no one knows me more than I know myself, and no one knows what I'm thinking when the bell goes, or what my next move is going to be. And there's so many different layers. But yeah, I think that the crowd is going to be one thing, but the actual fight's another.
What's the most dangerous part of this fight for you? Dangerous
in terms of what? Sorry.
In you losing the fight potentially, or some things that you have to be wary of, or obviously without giving away, you know, the game plan, so to speak.
The only ways you can lose a boxing match is obviously disqualification, getting stopped or outpointed. So the way to stop yourself from getting outpointed is don't let the other person work harder than you or land more shots. Don't get stopped, don't get hit with clean, hard punches consistently. And don't fucking low blow the guy or throw him on the ground or whatever else. Just box within the parameters. So as long as I stick to those things, I should be all right.
What about from Chris? Or is it just very much yourself that you feel that you need to be focused on?
It's just boxing. Like I said, Chris has got certain attributes that are good. He's got good work rate, good belief in his coach. So those two things, obviously punches, like he's a good puncher. Works hard in spots, drops it down, works hard. So he's got good sort of pace management. He's got lots of stuff that's going from. But I can't see how it's going to be effective against me. That's the honest truth. I'm prepared for a very hard fight, because Chris is good. Anyone can watch him and know he's good. But I just look and say a lot of what. Okay, I'll get into it. So when you're training, any boxer, you train. You hit the bags, you hit the pads, you spar, and you tell yourself, this is how it's going to go, this is how it's going to go. And when you're hitting the bag's right there, and you're going, body shot, headshot, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then you hit the pads, and it's like, this is the position, okay, here, and then and it's all brilliant. But then on the day, when someone's in front of you, it doesn't go always how you want it to go. Because if it went like I throw a good 1-2 from the first time I hit the pad, it doesn't mean I'm gonna knock someone out with the first 1-2. So I just think with this, Chris got a lot of good attributes. And if I was a lesser fighter or more sloppy or had less composure or more ego, it would be a much harder fight. But I don't fight with ego ever. I'm like, as much as people can say whatever they want about me outside, when it comes to boxing, I'm so like, I get it. This guy's good at this. I'm good at this. What do I need to do to win this fight? I don't go in there saying, I'm going to do this. Like, I could say, I'm a bigger puncher than Chris. I'm stronger than him. I'm fitter. I believe I'm a more dominant force when I put it on. I could go in and say, I'm going to show that. But then I think to myself, is that the best course of action to win this fight? Or is boxing and moving the best caution? Or it might change in the fight. Do you know what I mean? So I always do whatever's the best and most clinical way of winning a fight.
How much stock do you put into the sparring? A little bit, a lot, nothing? I mean, you wouldn't be human if you kind of completely disregarded it. I won't believe you if you say you completely disregarded it.
Then I'm generally not human. Because I kind of disassociate the sparring from whatever this is. Well, this is a fight now with a former sparring partner. And I just think if you go in with the mindset of this is what this person does, as soon as they do something different, you end up in trouble. So I've experienced that myself. I've boxed Chamberlain. I sparred him before that, and I went in thinking it's going to be this, and it was something different. Same with not that I sparred him, but same. I had a mindset of Wadi Camacho. Sparred Wadi Camacho. Went into the fight. I thought it's going to be this. It's something different. People are always more effective and best from fight night than they are in sparring. But at the same time, so am I. Do you know what I mean? So I think like in sparring, you never see me drop people, never see me hurt people. But on fight day, it always happens. So I don't really take stock in it because I think if I did, he's going to be a different person to the guy that I spar. I know that because it's a different occasion. In sparring, you can kind of say, I trained today. I trained earlier in the day. You don't know what the person's done the whole day or what they're going through, anything. But fight day is your peak. Do you know what I mean? So there's no sparring that's going to replicate fight day.
I was surprised to see this fight, even though you'd left the gym and kind of there'd been murmurs and you'd kind of both been asked about it by people like me and, you're fighters. What are you going to say? You're not going to say you're not going to fight anybody, really. When did it become like a realistic possibility? It seemed to me from the outside looking in that you kind of forced this fight on the back of the David Light performance. Why was that? How did it come about?
Oh, well, actually, to be fair, the fight was kind of proposed to my management maybe a day or so after. So I've heard stuff where Chris has said that they were looking for the fight and then they weren't sure if I was going to take or whatever else. So as soon as I heard it, I was just like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then what I didn't want is for them to back out after saying that they're on it. So for me, like, there's not really anyone in the world that I shouldn't want to box. Like, do you know what I mean? And contrary to a lot of people's belief, my stuff's set in stone. Like what I'm gonna get is what I'm gonna get. anyone, regardless of who I'm fighting. So I'm not in a position where I need to fight anyone. I don't need to fight Chris. Don't need to fight anyone. I could just, wait for another mandatory or whatever else. But I kind of like that idea of activity. I like that idea of boxing a good fighter. I've never shied away from good, hard fights. It's not been my character since the amateurs. So, yeah, we're going to go.
On the back of the David Light performance, which got good rounds, you mentioned there about the inactivity, but it wasn't the explosive Lawrence Okolie that we've seen in some of your other fights. Did you feel that, not that you needed to take this, I understand what you're saying there, but going back into a fight, this is a lot of attention on this. This is going to be a sold-out stadium. You've got all of the narrative built around it. This is a big event. Did you feel that you, not needed, but that's what you wanted to do on the back of the Light performance?
Yeah, wanted is probably a better word. Yeah. Like I said, I could box another David Light, and the same that I'm getting for this is the same I'm going to get for any fight. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, Chris in this sudden. It's more so Chris is the one that gets a world title fight. Like, for all of this talk, none of the other world champions wanted to box him for various reasons. I don't really know or care. So it's not like, for me, boxing in front of 15,000 people means anything. It's like I've done it before several times. I've won a world title. I've done stuff. So this stuff doesn't really excite me. Oh my goodness, 50. It's nothing for Chris. Okay, maybe it's a big deal. Like, he's headlined a couple 4,000s, and this is a 15,000er, and it don't mean nothing to me.
Last quick couple from me, because I appreciate we've got to go over to the press conference shortly. Anyway, one of the last times I saw you briefly at the press conference. One of the last times I saw you on social media causing a ruckus with Richard Riakporhe.
Oh, really?
At the Creed premiere. What happened there?
Yeah, just that. Obviously, he's like, before the Chris fight got made and whatever else, I just don't like the idea of people saying they want to fight me and not fighting. As I said, Chris said he wants to fight. I said, all right, cool. I'm going to go and say it on TV and we're going to make it happen. I'm not really into this whole like saying it and building a career and then eventually I'm just like, if you want to do it, let's do it now. It's like, I have no, what's the right word for this? For me, no matter what anyone has to say about my style, about me as a person, that I don't really know or care. I'm not really interested in like this pantomime when it comes to boxing. I'm interested in, all right, cool. Let's have a fight and see if you're good enough. Like that's the way I kind of look at it. I look at it and say, I believe I should be able to get through any situation, and I got the strength of character, and I'm gritty, and I'm this and that. Let's test it out. Let's not talk and I have to hear people say, when are you gonna box Chris? When are you gonna box Richard? Let's just actually make these fights happen, and then you guys can become irrelevant, and then I can just carry on.
Is this a harder fight than the Riakporhe fight?
We're going to have to wait to see on Saturday. I haven't boxed either one of them yet, so it's tough to say. I think it has a potential to be, but at the same time, it could be over like quickly. Like, we just don't know. I have to wait to after the fight's over to kind of let you know, and after I've boxed Richard. But as of right now, I think stylistically, I think possibly Chris is a harder one because he's got more facets. That's the right word. He's got more. So, for example, he's able to box out in different positions. So I'm gonna have a lot more to think about. Like with Riakporhe, it's gonna be he's got good timing, good counter punching, good punching power. But he's not gonna be able to suddenly start doing certain stuff. Like I said, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Final one from me. We did an interview a few years back, and I always refer to it whenever we talk. Whenever I talk about you, really, it was after the Askin fight, when Askin fight wasn't the best fight the world has ever seen, as you can attest to. And I remember asking you afterwards. I think I used Vladimir Klitschko as an example of somebody who dominated for a long period of time, really didn't have a hard fight, but sometimes wasn't the most exciting fighter to watch in the world. And you said to me, look, ultimately I want to be an exciting fighter. I want to put bums on seats. I want to be explosive. But the most important thing is the win. And if I have to win that way, that's how I'll do it. You still feel that way? Is that still how you go, your kind of mindset on approaching the fight?
Yeah, obviously, because, the only reason why we're here now is because I've kept winning. You know what I mean? The only reason why we're interviewing now is because I kept winning. However, each fight calls for a different thing, Like I said, I'm excited for Saturday. I'd like to see what this fight calls for. We'll see. If Chris comes, like I said, I'm gonna demonstrate
And final one, because it's just popped into my head. We did a podcast a while ago, 3 years ago, I think it was, and you told me about a certain Enrico Moses Itauma who came in for the Krzysztof Gravatsky fight. And the initial date that was rescheduled. He's now 18 and quite a bit bigger than he was back then. What have you made of his start to the professional career, and what can you tell people about him and what you're expecting from him as a pro?
Yeah, he's very good. And he's one of the main reasons I'm gonna nick up to heavyweight and then bounce quickly. Do you know what I mean? Because the guy was freakish. So as long as he stays disciplined and works hard, he's one of the best young talents I've ever seen. So rooting for him.
Okay, well, Lawrence Okolie, real pleasure catching up. Thanks very much for making time for Boxing News and having us come down here. I'm going to leave the floor with you before we let things go. Saturday night, Lawrence Okolie walks into the Lions Den here in Bournemouth against former sparring partner, campmate and friend, Chris Billam-Smith. What happens, Lawrence?
Okay, I always overdo these. I'm going to win by big knockout.
Simple as that. Lawrence Okolie, thanks very much. Catch up with you soon.
Thank you.